Well, hello there, you scrublords, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Ho-Re prototype. Now, while many people have been looking over and foaming at the mouth over another particular vehicle, I instead have been playing this over the past week or so, and it is probably the most fun vehicle I have played in a very long time, especially in regards to the Japanese, at the very least. This thing is just awesome in more ways than one. Now, without further ado, let's talk about why that is. So the Ho-Re tank destroyer is actually quite well armored despite being Japanese. You wouldn't think that much just by initially looking at it. However, the upper front plate, despite being only 75mm, is sloped back at a very, very decent 70 degrees, giving it a lot of effective frontal armor and effectively making it an auto bounce zone. However, this mid plate right here is going to be your key to penetrating this thing easily from the front and immobilizing it. Don't bother shooting the lower plate though, because that thing is much, much better armored than you would think. The side cheeks on either the left and right hand side are a no-go from the front as well, because they are effectively 230mm thick, so unless you have a very, very high penetration gun, I wouldn't even bother. The side armor is, well, what you would expect. It's not actually that thick. It can be penetrated by some SPAA vehicles, as I have found while playing it, and so don't depend on your side armor to save you, although it has a couple of times. The upper front casemate is 120mm on the outside there, where you see the little viewports, and the inner part is 150mm. But don't bother trying to shoot the gun mantlet, because that thing is 250mm thick. Even if it's just flat, that's very, very good armor. And the gun mantlet itself, surrounding the gun, is 200mm thick, effectively 260, so I wouldn't even bother shooting there either. So yeah, you can see this thing is quite powerful. Looking at the X-ray view real quick, you can also see that behind that mid-plate is the transmission, the driver, and the machine gunner. Behind them further is the engine. Now, this creates a couple of problems for anybody trying to engage this thing from the front. Mainly, that trying to access the ammo racks from the front of this vehicle, or trying to hit the ammo racks, is quite difficult. The only way you're going to be able to really ammo rack this thing in any sort of reliable manner is to get its side. And even then, if you're going to get its side, don't try shooting into the casemate, try shooting into the armor behind the tracks, because if you do that, and you aim right below the casemate, you will pretty much automatically ammo rack this vehicle. Taking a look at the ammunition here, we've only got one type of AP round, the Type 2 APHE shell. Now this thing is powerful as all hell. It has 204mm of penetration at point-blank range against flat armor, and its muzzle velocity of 916 meters per second means that it can reach out and touch people at quite a distance without much difficulty. In addition, you've got 200 grams of explosive filler within this darn thing, so pretty much anything that you penetrate center mass or in a turret is pretty much going to lead to a one-shot. Combine this with the excellent rate of fire, with a 9.1 second reload on an expert crew, not an ace crew, an expert crew, and you've got yourself one hell of a good gun. This thing is just absolutely great. Oh yeah, the other thing I should mention, in case you weren't aware of this vehicle's peculiarities, one of the strangest parts of this vehicle is the fact that, well, the gun is mounted quite high up in the superstructure, and as a result requires the Japanese engineers to fit a hatch, that you can see on the top of the vehicle in this clip here when I am not in third person. There you go. You can see that the hatch lifts up with the cannon breech to give it its 10 degrees of gun depression, which it really would require. Without that hatch, this thing would have maybe 2-3 degrees of gun depression, and it really wouldn't be all that fun to play. But that in combination with the excellent rate of fire, the excellent gun depression, the superb armor, and the awesome rate of fire make this thing just an awesome all-around tank destroyer. Now, it is a premium, and it is a Japanese Tier 4 premium. However, if you don't want to buy this thing, stick around and, well, wait for the next patch, because next patch we're going to be getting the production version of this vehicle as a normal tech tree addition. And the Type 5 Ho-Re is actually going to be quite... Actually, it's going to be better than the current Ho-Re. The upgraded version is going to have thicker frontal armor, I think it's about 150mm or so, and it gets better ammunition. The new ammunition type it's going to get is an APC-BC round, but I don't quite remember how much penetration it has. Let me look it up real quick. Okay, so I'm getting this information from my Waffenträger's Sensha blog, and I will leave a link to that in the video description. However, the upgraded APC-BC rounds could penetrate 200 millimeters of armor at 1,000 meters, fired at a muzzle velocity of 1,005 meters per second. So, currently, the max penetration of the round is about 204 millimeters with the Type 2 APHE, but this new round is an APC-BC round, which will be able to penetrate what this gun can penetrate at 1,000 meters. So, that'll give you an idea of how powerful this new ammunition will be once we get it in-game in the next patch. And again, I don't know whether it'll be for this vehicle, but I know for sure it will be on the production vehicle that we will be getting as a standard tech tree vehicle in 1.73. Now, before we go too deeply into this next clip here, I want to quickly explain something. The reason why you are seeing vehicle outlines is because this is a feature that you can turn on in the replay file. So, I'm not aimbotting here, I don't have wall hacks. This is simply an option you can turn on in the replays of War Thunder. You do that by pressing your comma key for English keyboards. So, I don't know what that would be for other keyboards, but I know by default you can turn off the names by pressing period, and you can turn on the vehicle outlines by pressing the comma key. So, going back to what I was saying, I am facing off against a T-3485, no longer a T-3485, an IS-1, two M36 Jacksons, and I think there's another T-3485 off to my right that's out of view here. And these guys are all firing at me with their ammunition. So, and just watch how much of a beating this vehicle takes from these vehicles. I think we're at about 600 to 800 meters distance, and I am just ricocheting pretty much everything that hits me. The only thing that's really penetrated me were shots that hit my mid-plate. Yeah, and there's the shot that came in from the right from the other T-34. You can see him highlighted in the forest there. And just witness the fact that this thing can take so much punishment. And by the way, I should have mentioned this earlier, this vehicle is a 6.0 battle rating vehicle, so it's not overpowered in my eyes because it can face IS-6s, potentially. And you put this thing up against an IS-6 and it's not really that much of a contest, because this gun just really struggles to penetrate anything with any real amount of armor. But if you've got under 200 millimeters of effective armor, then, well, this vehicle is going to have a field day with you. Also, it sometimes has issues penetrating IS-1s if you hit them anywhere but the turrets, so worth keeping in mind. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty disappointed when I missed that shot. Anyways, I hope you guys get a decent impression of how this vehicle performs. One thing to keep in mind, by the way, is that this vehicle, despite it having very good frontal armor, it gets outflanked quite easily. The hull traverse on the vehicle is not particularly good. If you've got a bit of speed worked up, then you can turn it pretty quickly, but just trying to turn it where it's sitting, it doesn't have any neutral steer, so it really struggles to turn itself around. So if you catch this thing in a bad position, just keep trying to outrun it, because you easily will, even unless you're just a very, very slow vehicle. So without further ado, this has been many miles away. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you guys didn't, well, you know what to do. And so, I will see you guys next time. Keep your tracks checked, keep your bounds in place, keep your brown in the tube, and I will see you guys in the next video.